Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Divine Insight Ministries. I'm Apostle Robert Jenkins, and as always, me and my wife will take the time to say thank you and God bless you. Please hit that share button, share this on your page. Also, you can invite as many people out. You can hit that invite button. It is Friday after talk, and I'm telling you, we have everybody in the house today. God bless you. God bless you. So go ahead and hit that share button, share this on your page. Sister Michelle, I see you here. Sister Rita, God bless you. Sister Jeremy, God bless you. D is in the house. Demetrius, God bless you, man. Powerful word yesterday. Thank for all the men who was able to come out yesterday. We didn't have the total participation that we normally have with men, but it was great, outstanding, to be honest with you. So we thank God for all the men. Men, if you're listening, do not slow down on impartation or being a part of the impartation on Thursdays. That's very important. Sometimes we lose our consistency, and this is not the time to slow down. But thank you for everybody who was able to come out. So God bless you. Brother Gary, I see you. The Ross family is here. The Powell family is here. God bless you. God bless you. Sister Hart is here. God bless you. Brother Parker, proud of you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. God is doing some great things in your life. So God bless you. But let's get ready for the after talk. All the ladies in the house. It's been a long time since everybody's been here. And we just thank God. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ladies in the house. Brother Clarence is not able to be with us this morning. So go ahead, hit that share button, share it on. If you can help me share it on my page, Apostle Robert Jenkins page, and Robert Jenkins page, because he normally does that for me. But he's not able to be here. He has to be with his wife today. She has surgery. So there's some things that he needs to be with her. And so we thank God for it. But God bless everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We've been talking about a very, very touchy subject, dealing with children, child care. And I wanted to have everybody today, especially these ladies, because most of them have children, and we can deal with some other dynamics. I'm going to answer some questions today. Got a chance to go over some things for yesterday, so we're going to answer some questions today. But I want to get into some real meat today, even greater, deals with the aspect of raising children in two separate homes. I want to talk about that and the dynamics that come along with that. I want to talk about the dynamics when you're raising children and you don't like the bloodline of the person you had a baby by, and now your children are experiencing some things from them, because that's what most mothers do. They'll say that's from the father's side. They don't want to claim that things are bad, but in any case, we're going to deal with that in the dynamics of that and split homes and just a lot of things like that, because a lot of children are suffering from that, or a lot of parents are suffering, to be honest with you, don't know what to do. So we'll deal with that. And then I know we're going to touch on, we'll probably start with this subject. Get a lot of emails yesterday about whooping your kids. Should you whoop your kids? Should you not whoop your kids? And everybody says that, Dr. Taylor, you started something with that one. But we're going to challenge that and begin to look at it from all aspects of that. So thank you. God bless you. I hope you can hear me. Brother Reggie, praying for you, man. Love you, man. Praying for your family. Praying for him. He lost his mom not too long ago. Praying for him. That's one of my best friends, Reggie Wright. When you see him, is probably one of my oldest friends. We've been friends since we've been about 7 years old. And so it's very rare that you can have a friend that you was with at the age of 7 and y'all still friends. And so thank God for him. Thank God for everybody. There's a lot of new people on Salem here, or I think that's how you pronounce the name. I think he's from not Africa, but somewhere way out in the east. Thank God for him. Brother John is here. God bless you, Angela. God bless you. Congratulations on what God is doing in your life. Sister Sims, God just opened up a major door for her to do some things in the business aspect. And so we thank God for that as well. But God bless you. Let's get ready to pray, and then we're going to go into this panel. Got a lot of ladies here today. Thank God for Sister Ramika. We're able to get back with us. We miss you. We miss you. We miss you. We miss you. Dr. Ross was with us. I'm calling you Dr. Ross too, Nikki. She was with us one day, but she's able to be with us. Sister D is able to be with us. And these three ladies at the bottom of the panel is going to be talking about the prophetic next week. So get ready for that. We're going to really get into some things about what we should expect from a prophet. So we're going to deal with that, understanding the prophetic. But God bless you. Welcome. Go ahead, hit that share button. Let's get ready to go into this. Father, we bless your name for who you are. Thank you for wonderful people. Thank you, Lord, for issues in our lives that you never leave us alone. It doesn't matter what it is and how difficult it is. The Holy Spirit can lead us and guide us into all truth. We bless you that you're not exempt from difficult times. You're not exempt from problems. And you show us how to walk through the valley of the shadow of death and still fear no evil. We bless you for it. Give us understanding this morning. Allow us to be transparent. Allow us to touch lives and then bring about a change. Challenge us until we change. We thank you for this level of insight and this level of commitment. We bless you for it. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. So, all right, ladies, let's talk. Dr. Williams, you at the talking since you started this yesterday. This whooping thing about whooping kids. I'll say some things and then I'll turn it over to the ladies and we'll kind of go into it. There's 6 of us today, so kind of make your statements not as long so everybody can have a chance to share if you can do that. All of us have so much to say. So that's all of us. All of us got so much to say. We're so loaded. It's hard for us to talk about issues, but let's try to condense it a little bit today. But I would say I don't know anything about a healthy whooping. My experiences with whooping were negative. My mother abused me, very much so. And out of the many counselors that I've been through, they all said I had been traumatized by the beating. So I understand the abuse on the whooping side. My mother didn't believe in whooping clothes. We had to get whoopings butt naked. She didn't use belts. She used stitcher cords, and you couldn't be dry. My mother used to make us take a shower. You had to come out the shower wet. And so that was extreme for me. I thought it was extreme abuse. And so that wasn't whooping to me. In my last marriage that I was in, I remember whooping her son. And first time I ever whooped him, and I asked him, I was real concerned because of what I've been through. I didn't want to feel like I was out of order. He was a very disobedient young man, very disobedient, challenged me to the point he got in my face, pushed me. I mean, we had them kind of challenges. She just had I believe one of the reasons why she married me, she was hoping that my gift could help her with her disturbed child. He had been kicked out of school like 10 times before he was 7. It was just major things that he was dealing with. But I remember asking him, did you understand why I had to do what I had to do? And he said to me, no. And I said, why? He says, because I think he was 10 at the time. I'm 10 years old and you 50. You beat me up. He saw it as me beating him up. Now, I don't know if he was running game on me or whatever the case may be, because some kids know how to run game and flip the philosophy on you. But I did consider that. I did consider how big I was, how strong at that time. I was really heavy in the weights. And was I angry? What was I trying to get across? And I think that's the thing with whoopings. What's the objective? Because a lot of times we mad at life. We whoop our kids, we angry, and so things like that. And so I think we need to approach all of those avenues of whooping. Definitely not abuse. I've never taken gym in my life in school because of the scars that I had from whoopings. And so I know it from the extreme. That doesn't mean that there's not a healthy side to chastising your kids. That just means that I had a very extreme situation. And when you have that, you tend to lean towards the other and not get an understanding of it. So I want us to get balance. I don't want people to think that you shouldn't whoop your kids, but also want to understand when you say whoop your kids, what's on your mind, what's your objective. And I think those are some of the viewpoints. So Dr. Taylor, give us some of the viewpoints that you were talking about concerning whooping kids and the psychological part of what damaged the kids mentally, what goes on. So let's talk about that.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's see. I hope it's not a feedback. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, you're great on my end.
Okay, perfect. I have like a kind of feedback, but it's okay. So here we go. When you make a decision, this is what we're taught in science and a lot of other areas of study. You have to consider the benefits and the risk. You have to consider the possible outcomes of an action. And so with whooping, there are no benefits. There has been no proven benefits in comparison to other forms of disciplines, but there's been well-documented risk, and there's been well-documented studies that show that kids have way more problems, including heightened aggression, right? Because we learn behaviors right? We do what we are taught, we do what we see. So heightened aggression, cognitive deficits, meaning the way that you process information, the way that you think, poor academic performances, okay, heightened, more anxiety disorders. Hello, anybody in the comments can say, do you struggle with anxiety and worrying and nervousness? Can you even think when I say anxiety, a time when you got flashback? Can your mind flash back to a time when your mama said, I'm going to get you when I get home? And that happening a lot, and you having that anxiety build up, that pressure, that nervousness. Our culture says my nerves are bad. Anxiety, all right, depression, other thought disorders. And interestingly enough, whenever they study the brains of kids who get spankings and whoopings, and so spankings and whoopings, those are assumed to be like a non-violent, right? Non-violent. You're not trying to inflict violence. You're trying to inflict discipline versus child abuse. That is violence, right? You are abusive. So whenever they took the images, MRIs, brain images of kids that get whoopings versus kids who actually get child abused and trauma and actually physical violence inflicted upon them, like kids in CPS custody and things like that, the brains look exactly the same. They have an area in their brain that light up in response to fear, even whenever they just see pictures of people with a frown or they hear the word no. And so what that means is kids who get whoopings, they have changes on a neurobiological level in their brains, and that puts them at risk for brain dysfunction later in life. And so I, as a person, I was whooped all the time because, following instructions, and I had a smart mouth per my mother. But as a doctor, they say, before they allow doctors to become doctors, they say, do you agree to do no harm, right? Hippocratic oath, do no harm. And when there's evidence of harm, then you can't do it. And so in good consciousness, I can't recommend that people whoop their kids whenever there's other ways. We talked about positive and negative reinforcement. They call that positive discipline. There are other ways to discipline your kids, and studies show that these ways are more effective, way more effective than physical punishment. And so that's why I say no whooping your kid. I have a couple of times spanked my child like a little tap. And you know what he said, even the other day when I said, I'm going to tap you, he was like, well, why, mama? Why would you hit me? And it was so interesting. He's 2. So why would you hit me? Because I tell him don't hit. And so imagine psychologically the confusion that happens. You say don't hit, but you're hitting me. You say don't yell, but you're yelling at me. And so kids get very confused. That really makes it difficult to learn rules. That really makes it difficult to form a secure attachment with a parental figure, because you're telling me one thing but doing another. And not only that, how can I trust you? So kids, well, baby, his tablet has malfunctioned. Bring it here. Bring it here. Come over here. But how can I trust you? Bring it here, baby. Let me see. How can I trust you, right? You're inflicting pain on me, but then I'm also supposed to love you. And so it's a very mixed signals whenever it comes to emotional development. And so a lot of kids have a very hard time with sustaining secure relationships with their parents. And so they grow up and they have difficulty with communication, which largely as a culture, we have problems with communication. And so psychologically, it puts the brain in formation with trauma and the responsiveness of trauma. And what happens whenever you're traumatized? You isolate, right? You dissociate from your world. You don't talk to people. You start looking at the world as a negative lens. You can't trust others. You have this mindset of nobody's going to help me anyway. I can't do anything right. You have low self-esteem, very low self-esteem. And I think that in the long run, individuals really encounter untapped potential, right? Because of all these inner conflicts that they experience. And so simply put, at a very young age, you start distorting their psychological and neurobiological processes that are supposed to be well developed by us as parents.
Okay, we're gonna look at it. You said a lot today, because it seemed to be, and I'll pass it. I want to go to Ramika because She hasn't been able to be on with us, so I want to go to her and give her time. But it seemed to be that your experience in your education seems to be very dominant, right? And so we'll talk about this because I'm nervous about dominancy of things because you shouldn't. I don't think you should ever persuade your conviction on people versus giving them information in maybe the facts based upon this. They said this, they said this. But I think when we say, you know what, you should not, I think that's a little dominancy. And so, and I want to look at that because a lot of parents is listening. They have whooped their kids. Some of the parents are listening. They still whooping the kids. And so, and you made something, and it could be a fact. What you could say, could be saying is a fact. But I can share with you, there are people who got a whoopings, and they'll tell you to save my life. So I can't say that there is no evidence of where whoopings come in, because a lot of people who got a whoopings, they're not in jail, they're not in nothing, and it saved their lives. And so some people don't take that psychological negative. And I think when we go down the list of how many things it does wrong, it's almost like we're trying to push our weight on what we believe versus leaving it all open. And what I try to do in everything is be fair on all sizes and look at it. And so let's say, for instance, now you was able to grab your son and you was able to calm him down, right? But let's say you got a child that is resistance, and this, we're going to get into this, right? They got their father's blood, they father fight everybody, whatever the case may be. They 11, 12 years old, they tearing up the house, calling you B, whatever, you know. So you telling me that's when you say, try this toy, calm down. I'm just saying there is some mindsets and some spirits that needs two things to get respect. You have to take it or you have to give it. And so I think there is a mindset that may need a strong dominancy to be able to bring it under control, you know. And so, and I think we should look at that. Now, we have to look at a lot of dynamics because a lot of kids are out of control. They started, like your little child who's 2 years old, they started at 2, because children could run your house. When children know that there is no form of resistance that causes them any pain. The problem I deal with talking to kids sometimes, that talking don't get the respect that you should have or the order that you should have. And is there a stronger positive reinforcement that may not deal with whooping, but do it get that result that I need? Because I'm not going to have you fighting me, telling me what you're going to do, slamming doors, a whole lot of stuff that comes that we may have to experience. And so we'll talk about all the dynamics. I'm not for abuse at all. And I don't think none of us are, but we are enforced of bringing our house in order. How do you bring your house in order? How do you get, if you have a son or a daughter that is doing some things that's going to get them killed? How do you bring that spirit in order? And I think we need to talk about better methods, more methods, you know, because just because whooping work with one child don't mean it works for others. So I think we need to deal with that too, because some childs are different. You know, I didn't have to have whoopings, but my brother, I don't know if he had to have it, but something had to be done because he was a different beast in the sense of that. And a lot of these kids that we're dealing with right now, I'm gonna be honest with you, some of the kids, and I may reflect just because I grew up like that, even though I'm not for abuse, but some of these kids, I'll be saying they need a whooping. It's like they need something, you know, something, because it's out of order and it's disrespectful. You know, and I have a lot of grandkids, and some of the things they do is incredible. So we'll talk about that. Come on, Ramika, what do you say about that? Give us your wisdom or your understanding of that. But thank you, Dr. Taylor, because we need to hear about all that part as well. You there? I can't hear
Well,
you.
bless God, bless God. Yes. Wow. So whooping. So I grew up. Can you hear me?
Yes,
No?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yes? Okay, good. All right. So I grew up in a household kind of like apostles, where I was whooped like constantly on a daily basis. And for the majority of the time, it was an extension cord, which we call a drop cord. We got whooped with that. And if that was not available because one of my brothers hit it, we got whooping with whatever my mom could find, brooms, whatever, belts, whatever she could find. So growing up, it wasn't until I became an adult that I looked back and was like, okay, it was abuse, essentially. And then I took into account everything that my mom had going on in her life, just mentally, emotionally, and her upbringing. So when I had children, I vowed to myself that I would not use that type of discipline on my children. But then it turned to verbal abuse with my kids. And then if they did get a whooping, it was borderline abuse. And it wasn't until one day that I got really upset with my kids, and I yelled at them, like really just yelled at them, and even used profanity, that the Holy Spirit checked me and told me, don't you ever talk to them kids like that again. I mean, just point blank, it scared the crap out of me, if I'm being honest. The Holy Spirit told me, don't you ever talk to those children like that again. And it scared me so much that I had to stop in my track and realize what I had been doing. And then sitting there, realizing what I had did was wrong, and having a remorseful heart, I had to go back and to apologize to my kids for talking to them like that, and then go back in my room and ask God, what do I do? How do I raise these kids? How do I discipline them without harming them physically, mentally, or emotionally? And it came with a lot of being able to face the trauma that I had. And not only that, just really being humble as a parent and saying to myself and to God that I don't know how to raise these kids, and I need your help in doing that. And there took a lot of time where as parents, we kind of avoid, and I think they touched on this week, we kind of avoid putting the time into raising our kids. We'll work 3 jobs. We'll go to school to better ourselves. We'll try to make up time, compensate everywhere else. But when it comes to raising our kids, we put them on a strict regimen. We put them on a strict schedule, and we kind of allow the schedule to raise our kids rather than we raising our kids ourselves. So for me, it turned to having to begin to really take time and talk to my kids and train them with understanding. You know, we don't do this because mommy is, and I'll be honest with my kids, I'm feeling sometimes. Mommy is feeling some type of way today. I tell my kids, listen, mommy feeling some type of way today, and I need you guys to understand that. So I'm going to cook dinner. You guys going to watch TV. We'll spend a little time, but just give me a few minutes. If I need an hour, just give me an hour. But there are times where after I talk to my kids, I teach them, I train them, I do it with them. We walk the process out, and then I kind of let them go, and I correct them as we go, whatever it is, whether it's cleaning their chores, making their bed, critical thinking. We do this process. But if there's something that they're responsible for, and I've exhausted through the teaching, through the training, through the talking, through the correcting, that belt is coming out. And so it's not often my kids get a whooping, maybe 2-3 times a year, because I realized that talking to them, training them, and giving them understanding that they comply, they're obedient. My kids, and I'm sure anyone with parents will understand that my kids, they want to do right. They want to please mommy. They want to, am I doing this right? They want to be good. They want to be the best version of themselves that they can be. And so in training them and having those conversations and talking to them and giving them an understanding, not just of my household, but how the community works, how society works, how culture works, how the world works. And then on top of that, what does the Bible say? What is the Bible saying? And having that, for me, it diminishes how many times that I have to actually pull out a belt and beat my kids. And when I do whoop them, beat them, it's on the butt. It's nothing crazy. I'm not swinging all crazy. Oh, no, turn around, give me that butt. Give me the butt, and we do that, and that's that.
Okay, that was great. Great insight. And thank you for that. We need to do this another time, even more in depth, maybe 2 or 3 weeks of this, because when we look at this, is there between raising your children or whooping your children in a single parent home? Because right now it's all women on the panel. If there was a man on the panel, or if you was married, would that be the agreement of that? Would a man say, I'm not going to have the children be whooped? And I think we need to look at that dynamic as well. because a man brings rule and brings order, and I think it'd be different because I was listening to you, and so that's a good point what you brought up. And then I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of parents who don't whoop their kids, and I'm not saying it's okay to whoop. I want people to understand that. Do not abuse your kids, okay? But I'm saying, how do we bring order? How do we bring reverence? There's people, some people on the comments are bringing up scriptures, and the Bible does talks about chastising, and so we deal with that. But how do we do it when you have out of order kids? And I know I've seen kids who I've heard parents say, I don't want my kids. And then I say to myself, you should have, I could tell. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it's the way they carry themselves. When do they have a level of respect? And I think all those dynamics. Ben, I've seen kids who, like me, who have been whooped, and the psychological damage to it. So I think we have to look at both of the ends of the spectrum and be honest with that and understand that. Because you definitely don't need to be whooped the way I was whooped. But at the same time, there's some kids that how do you bring order and deal with that? And I guess we'll ask, we don't have a whole lot of time today, but how do we, if you in extreme cases, does the other methods really work? In extreme cases, do the other methods really work? And we should ask that same thing in whooping. Do whooping really work? Now, it may not work psychologically, it may not work privately, but at that moment, it worked. Like whatever you were trying to get, and it's when it's done right. And so I think we should look at all that, because, and the reason why I say that, and I'm gonna pass it to Sister D, is because a lot of times when we say things on this ministry, people are already a victim of. They already did it. And so how do they get healed from it? And what changes do we need to make? I never want to bring it to the point that you feel guilty and shame because you victimized of that, or because you did that. I want you to see, okay, I need to make some corrections. I realize, or I inform, or there's some parents listening right now and they saying, I love y'all. I hear y'all don't whoop the kids, but I don't know what to do with my boy if I don't whoop him. And I want to be able to help them with that. I just don't, because that's real when it's in your home and when it's going on, or with a daughter. I have experienced kids doing some violent stuff. I've had some grandkids who pull out knives on their cousins. You know what I'm saying? Now, we know there's some other things, but it can get to that point, or kick and scream, or whatever the case may be. And how do you bring that? And sometimes they don't have to be 12 and 13. Some kids do it at 4 and 5. Some kids manipulate your home. The baby been running the house ever since she's been born. And that type of stuff. And you can't get her, she'll throw food all on the counter. You know what I'm saying? And you got that type of stuff. And you be like, you need to whoop the kids. I've been in front of people where the baby is just outrageous and the mother's not doing anything. Don't do that. And now she done tore your kitchen up, you know what I'm saying? Bust your fish tank and everything else. And you got to deal with, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna invite you over to my house anymore because your kids are out of crazy. You didn't tore up the couch and they jumping on and stuff. I mean, all kind of stuff. You get some kids that sometimes, and I'm doing with the extreme on the other end, because I think when we deal with whooping, we need to look at it from the extreme case, not beat the fool out of me because I was 5 minutes late. I'm not dealing with that form. And sometimes we go through that. So let's look at that. But Sister D, what is your experience with that? Good conversation today.
Well, amen. Well, I would like to encourage someone as far as listening to the scientific aspect of things, is that a lot of scientific studies are geared towards proving what they're trying to prove. So it's kind of difficult to balance in all of that. But I would say I definitely believe in whippings. It just affects everybody differently. And I'm just going to share my own personal experience. I think that's the only way that we get. I didn't get very many whippings. My mama hit me probably twice. And one time when I cut my brother's hair, she didn't want me to cut it. And one time I was in high school and, thought I was going to show out and talk back. And she hit me in my face. And to this day, I don't talk back to my mother. Okay. I have 5 children. I have 4 sons and I have 1 daughter. And my oldest son, I've hit him once. He's 23. He is very mannerable, respectful. He's, I mean, just an all-around good kid. I hit him once, and I'm gonna just be transparent. I didn't whoop him. I punched him in his face in the 7th grade. He got around some of crazy kids and started thinking he was going to do something. And I know a lot of people in the community, and somebody called me and told me what they were doing and what they were saying. And so since he wanted to go that route, I gave him a taste of that route. I'm not saying that that's how we should do it. I'm just being transparent, because what I would not want is for people to just feel like so down because they maybe have done some of these things. Not saying that that's how we always should do it, but I got with him and I told him, if you want to be, let's do this, you know. And that was the only time I've had to hit him. But I want to talk about my soon to be 16-year-old Darian, because Darian got more whippings than, and Till will tell you, Darian got more whoopings than anybody, okay? Collectively, all together. The boy just got so many whoopings. And it was a struggle, because his dad, my husband at the time, it still did not believe in whoopings. He just didn't believe in that, you know. They grew up in a household where they didn't get whoopings, and you know it. But anywho, so my soon to be 16-year-old, he got more whoopings than anybody. I mean, I just didn't know what else to do, because he just seemed, the boy just, I don't know, he just seemed, he needed whoopings. And so I said that to say, you talk to him today, his conversation, he's gifted. He's so responsible. He's been gifted. He's smarter than most kids his age. Very manly, very respectful. He's a big, gentle giant. He's a football player. You know, on the varsity team, sophomore, but he also plays the trumpet. So he loves music too. He is, if you talk to him, nothing about him is shy. Nothing about him is timid. Nothing about him. It just amazes me, because when you think about just the conversation, and I hope that this is encouraging somebody that just feel like it has beat their child too much, because there were times when I just felt like I was just beating him way too much, like, oh my God. And then I love science and I love psychology. That's my degree. And so you get into those things, and it does affect you, and it does make you think, oh my God, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. But I'm experiencing this young man. He makes straight A's. He's in AP classes. He goes to football. He has football practice several times a week. He helps in the kids' kitchen. He bakes. My children, I've never forced them to watch their younger siblings, but they are just very helpful with their sisters, very just concerned about other people, and just, I know that that's my child, and I promise you I'm not being biased, but this kid is a good kid. And so I just say that to say, like, parents, we just have to hear God concerning our children, because I also have my youngest son, you know, and he has had to go, I've had to take him to counseling. Of course, the divorce had a lot to do with it, I believe. But he's had to go to counseling, and we never whooped him. He was spoiled rotten. You know, he didn't have to do anything. His brothers did everything for him. He was baby. He had all the attention. All my friends, he used to dance and play music. When he came around, he got all the attention, all the love, zig-a-zag, you know, pose, everything. But then he ended up dealing with something inward, you know. And of course, I'm a praying mom, and I was able to hear God. Okay, he needs to talk to somebody. You know what I'm saying? So we have to hear God. I think that it's very important as parents that we, especially in the kingdom, I think that we remove the God factor. I know that we have so many different scenarios. We have 2-parent households, we have single-parent households, we have 2-parent households where both parents work a lot. And yes, the TV is raising them, or the games are raising them, and they are trained not to go out the house. There was a time when my children were trained to go in the house, and they did not come out the house. But I'm bringing that up to say that we push the God factor for everything. Trust God for this, trust God for your finances, trust God for that. But when we're put into a corner in this kingdom where we aren't able to maybe spend those extra time, or maybe we can't make a game, or maybe, you know what I'm saying, then we just automatically take hold of the world's view and say, oh, well, this is going to cause them to have these psychological issues if we're not there. And I'm not saying that that isn't important. I'm not saying that that's an excuse, but I think that we need to grab a hold of the God factor and trust God to raise our children, and trust God that if we're not able to be there, that He will cause them to have some experiences. I was 10 years old when I had my first experience with God. My mama and them didn't go to church. I was 14 years old when I had a whole out-of-body experience. I didn't know. I was at the time going to a church that didn't even believe in that. I was a dreamer. God literally showed me some things, taught me some things, to where even when I became a parent, I was 17 going on 18. My son, I always told my children, you have a voice. I don't know where that came from. That ain't what my mom and them taught me. They didn't tell me nothing about anything. You have a voice. Never let nobody make you bow down. Never feel like you don't have a voice. Even when it comes to me, like I said, Tia can confirm that. I've always told them that I have no idea where it came from. I hugged them. You know what? It came from God. I hug them all the time. The first time I remember my mom hugging me was in 2012 when I was moving to Memphis. I had just graduated. My husband had took a job in Memphis, and that was the first time I can remember her hugging me. We didn't have conversations. She let me do whatever I wanted to do. I just happened to be scary, and so I didn't get into a lot of things. So we have to give God a little bit more credit when it comes to His ability to even help us with our children. Now, I won't go on and on and on, but I just had to say that because I am witnessing the power of not that whole idea of, well, you can raise them how you gonna raise them, but they just gonna do whatever they gonna do. No. You're not gonna hear me say that about my children. My children they ain't all that. You could be sick, all of that. We have to grab a hold of the God factor when it comes to our children. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. So y'all be encouraged. Loaded conversation.
Thank you for that. And that was you gave some wisdom, and I think we have to definitely look at the God factor, because at the end of the day, there's no perfect people, there's no perfect church, there's no perfect home. And I think a lot of times the more educated we get, we try to make it perfect, and that's not going to be. And I think we have to look at the dynamics, and that's what I wanted to deal with, because a lot of times we didn't do it right, but that don't mean that they're not going to come out right. Sometimes we can do it right and they still not come out right in our eyes. So at the end of the day, I got to trust God. I don't want people to live with guilt. Some parents live with the guilt. I didn't do it right. I ruined my kid's life. Well, God can still step in. Some parents say, I did everything right and I don't know what happened. God can still step in. So we're going to look at all those dynamics and look at it. So thank you for voicing that, because a lot of parents, and this is what we open for this forum, a lot of parents don't have the time, for what various reasons, to give their kids what they think their kids need. How do we do that? Every situation is different. And so we want to put everything out on the table, and what can help you, let it help you. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. Sister Ross, come on. Give us some inputs.
Good morning. This is quite a good, interesting topic. And actually, I'm still kind of going through this with my two sons. I have two teenage boys. So in the beginning, we did whoop the kids. We did chastise the kids in their early stage. But now that they are 14 and almost 16, we have started to switch gears on that. And what I mean by that is you have to understand when you're dealing with teens, am I chastising them? Am I correcting them? Am I disciplining them? Or am I punishing them? So there are levels to the discipline. What are you trying to structure in that? With my boys, we have learned, because they like to fight a lot and they like to pick with each other a lot. Just the other day, we had an issue where the oldest boy had took the youngest boy's cell phone and they was getting ready to go in and scrap. So instead of me as a parent punching them both in their throat, which I can't do, I stepped in the room and said, you know what, I'm going to intervene. I'm going to go in the room with both of y'all. You're going to look for your phone. You're going to see if it's in your brother's room. And we all going to be great. We all going to be Gucci. But in that, I have started to go ahead and develop discipline skills with them, letting them know we're not going to do all this touching. We're not going to put our hands on each other, but there are other ways and there are other methods. And I think we as parents, we need to understand that. When I grew up, we was always in, and I'm going to say beat. And that was really abuse. You would get beat and whooped wherever you acted a fool, whether it's church, the store, at home. Your teeth was going to get rattled for that day, or you was going to be looking for your teeth. So in that, I have understood and I see that with my siblings now, they still have this aggressive anger. When we all come together, everybody's talking real harsh, the tones, the atmosphere is heated in the room, and you can feel the tension when my family gets together. So a lot of times, I don't even like hooking and linking with my family because I know the levels they can get up to. And I didn't want that to happen with my teen boys. I didn't want them growing up in that atmosphere or that environment. So we went on ahead and switched gears with that. Now we talk, what is your real issue? What is your real problem? What's really going on? How you feeling today? And with my youngest boy, he's got a real anger and a temper problem. So what we have done, me and him and the other boy, we are getting ready to get a gym membership. So you can go ahead and process that anger. You're mad, you're irritated all the time, your temper flare up, you want to punch somebody. Let's go hit these weights. So there are methods on how to chastise your children. There are methods on really how to discipline them, because if you don't find these strategies, what's going to happen is by the time they get grown, it's going to come out in their kids. And with me, I didn't want that to travel down generations. I want to stop it and plug it right there, put a stop to that. So you as the parent, you have to understand your child. You have to get to know, and then you also have to understand, what are you really cultivating? Who is that child? Who is that child in the spirit? Because a lot of times we just look at our kids as kids, but they're not going to stay kids. Who are they really in the spirit? Because to be honest, the enemy is really after our seeds. The enemy is really after them in their baby stage. And I think we as parents, we forget that they're, after our seed. So we don't even know how to cultivate that. Are you dealing with a prophet in the house? You're dealing with a apostle in the house? You're dealing with a teacher in the house? Because if you are dealing with somebody like that, then you have to understand, okay, they're going to get afflicted. They're going to deal with a lot of warfare. So with my boys, I understand that there are levels to this and there are layers to this. And no, I can't treat them how I grew up and was raised up. So we have switched gears on them and we've taken a different approach. So that's all I'm saying to the parents. Learn your child, take a different approach. And then one thing I do that I discipline them, which me and my husband have established, even in punishing them and rebuking them, what we do is we take devices, because I know they love their electronics. And guess what? That PC cord, you'll look at the PC, you'll look at the computer, but the cord is not out of there. That's a discipline method with me. With my oldest boy, he liked to talk back. So what we did, we cut off the cell phone. I don't have to put my hands on you, but I can get what you love the most and what you spend your time on the most. So we have cut off cell phones. The youngest boy, he doesn't have the cord to his PC gamer, which we love. We know these kids love to be on YouTube and stream all day. So there are methods on how you can discipline them. You just switch gears.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, this conversation is so great, and again, you're looking at so many dynamics that was very, very, very good, and I think we got to look at all of those things. We haven't touched on maternal, which is Nick Journey and Sister Tia, but when you're raising kids, are you dealing with the psychological point? I like the point you brought up, the different age bracket when they're young, because a lot of times if you catch stuff early, you don't have to worry about it when they get older. That dynamic, but can you raise bloodline? I want to deal with that aspect as well. Like I said, if the father has a very violent or very disrespectful way, and you knows your kids kind of treat women the way the man you was with treat women, and you was not able to check that, and so there's disrespect. I mean, there's a lot of dealing with that, because some things that we deal with psychologically, it goes back when we talk about deliverance, need deliverance. Sometimes our kids need deliverance. Sometimes there's a demonic transfer from who they come from, you know what I'm saying, or what they're around. And so we have to deal with that, because I think sometimes you can't approach demons psychologically. It's not always effective. And so we have to deal with that. You know, we know at the end, if we help a person take control of their will, then they can choose to stop doing something, but the nature of it. And so that's what I'm looking at when we look at all that, because I'm looking at a lot of kids. If you look at the prison system, a lot of those men will tell you they were never chastised by a man. There was never order been given in their lives. And so we have to look at that. But thank y'all, because this is very wise. And it's a broad thing. It's not just something we can just quickly address, because there's a lot of different things. If you had a son that was out of order in the house, you thought you were talking to it, you thought you was handling it, and you couldn't find out he raped a girl next door. You couldn't find out. There's a lot of people who've never been checked at that level, end up being, now they're rapists, or they murdered somebody, or they got in trouble, or they're a thief and they break in somebody's houses. You know what I'm saying? And so then they come back to, especially when they're teenagers, most of the people around where I live at, these are kids breaking in cars. And so you wonder, like, where they home at? Where they training at? They don't care nothing about you. They'll shoot you. They'll kill you. These kids will kill you. These kids, you know, have guns and different things like that. And so, and sometimes it's because there was never any type of control or discipline over that spirit. So there's a lot of dynamics in that. And you're right. In the spiritual side, when you have a prophet, he's differently than the apostle in his temperament. And do you do that? Some kids you may call are disobedient, but they're struggling with something and they don't know how to communicate it. What if they lack communication? What if you assume that they at a place, so you whoop them because of that? There's a lot of things. I mean, to be a parent, you almost got to be a fivefold ministry just to be a parent. You got to be the prophet, the apostle, the evangelist, pastor, teacher, just to be able to raise kids, because you need all of those giftings to see what to do. So that's very key. Well, come on, Nick Journey. What would you say in your experiences? Thank God for you.
I'm still trying to breathe, right? Because this is one of those situations that, of course, y'all, it's not one size fits all, right? We're not saying this is how you do it, this is not how you do it. We're just really trying to give out information that hopefully helps you to see things, you know, just see you, right? See you, see God, see a different perspective. For me, of course, having a child at 15, I was young. I was fresh out, still probably getting whoopings myself, you know? And it's so crazy because I say whoopings and I hear beatings being said across the panel, which is a word that I'm like, y'all, we have to just start saying we whooping or we spanking or popping or something. It was broomsticks, it was extension cords, it was whatever. It was, I've been maced, I've been punched. I mean, it was whatever, right? So having a child early, I did what I knew, what I was taught, you know. I even fought boys, like, because it was that thing that if you're angry, if you do something I don't like, I hit you, because I was hit when, let's think about it. When we are, this is where my process was, but I want us to sit on this. When we whoop our children or physically strike them, is the emotion that we are, oh my God, no, you shouldn't have done that. I want to teach you not to do that because you'll hurt yourself. Or is it, I'm mad because you broke that. I'm mad because I keep telling you the same thing over and over again. I'm frustrated because I got to keep. So now I'm doing it out of my emotion and not really your direction, right? Because honestly, if I say I'm doing it from your direction, how many of us followed up after the whooping and had a sit down and said, hey, this is why I did this. Do you understand it? And then after that, did we come up with a plan of action, your action, how it came about, how we're gonna not do it again, right? Because if not, it happens again in a different form, and then we go back to whooping, and it's gonna be a cycle. And I'm just gonna whoop you because you did this. But if we're saying it's for direction, are we sitting down to give direction to say, hey, this is why this happened. Do you understand it? And if they do or don't, now how can we make sure that we're going to do better next time? Or how can we make sure that you get the help that you need? Or what's the outlet that you're going to use instead of doing whatever the thing was? So most of the time it came because I was mad, I was frustrated, I was overwhelmed. I'm tired of talking to you and telling you the same thing. So I had to come into that understanding, because with my first child, I did with him. I was a kid. You know, I did what I knew. This worked. This happened to me. And I used to say, like a lot of people say, I got whooped and I'm fine. But I realized we are gauging, I turned out fine based off of big consequences. I didn't go to jail. I haven't killed anybody. I'm a thriving citizen. But when I broke that down for myself, I was like, but I'm not fine. I was intimidated by authority. I had an issue with authority, right? And it wasn't that I was going to challenge authority, but I realized I slid back, right? And it was simply because of the way I was handled if I did something wrong. Till this day, I'm still afraid to do stuff wrong. And it's not because it's a conscious thing. It's something that is embedded in me. Like, I don't, and it's not like I think you're going to whoop me, but it's something that it was instilled in me that you did that wrong. You're going to get hit. I don't think anybody's going to raise up